All right, I'm live too. So you want me to do a little intro?
Yes, please. You're the intro man.
All right,
Mega Man sucks.
and welcome everybody to the 9th episode of the Deserted Gamer podcast. I cannot believe that we've been doing this for 9 months. We're getting pretty close to a whole year. It's really heating up here in Arizona. Back where you're at in Pennsylvania, I don't know. It's still freezing cold, but We've got spring training baseball. We've got hot weather and shorts and short sleeves. Not like that all year out here, but man, the brutal summer is on its way, but we're just living it up in our last couple of weeks here in the beautiful weather still. And today, to celebrate March and March Madness, me and Brian here, we are a little sporty. I'm just going to admit, we're a little sporty on the side, I know this is a gamer podcast, but guys, it's okay if you like games and sports. And so we decided, in the name of March Madness, which is one of the greatest times of the year for sports fans, we're going to do a little combination here of taking, what do we have, 36 consoles
38,
and putting them in a bracket. 38. So not quite as big as March Madness with the 68, but we have 38 consoles that we are putting into a bracket, and we are going to yell and scream about them and then pick a favorite in the end. So This might take about 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, whatever. And you can look at the video length now, and it's gonna be like 32 minutes. But,
5 minutes. The Ouya's going through.
Final round, Ouya and PSP. Anyway.
And I just want to say, I think it's very funny that you start off with saying that we're both very sporty, because I was going to make a joke about that, about us being incredibly athletic. If you saw us in real life, you'd be like, wow, those guys are incredibly fit, especially that Brian guy, who definitely isn't built like a short Jack Skellington.
I mean, we're both kind of short kings, but it's all good.
But I'm also
short kings can be athletic.
I'm also
isn't
Saquon
Barkley Saquon Barkley is not that tall. Running backs are never that tall.
He's taller than both of us.
Did you look it up?
No, but I know he's taller than both of us. He's taller than me.
And Jose Altuve on the Astros.
Are we? What's going on here?
He's 5'5".
Okay, well, all right.
I'm just saying, bro. Short kings can be athletic.
The point was, it wasn't even the height thing. It was that I look like I am a living, talking skeleton in human skin. That was
so.
The joke.
We have dry bones over here in the other corner. To give you the gamer reference, but anyway,
a strong gust of wind will take me out. All right. So here we have a bracket of 38 video game consoles and handheld systems that are
right.
We did seed this. It's roughly based on sales, not like it was kind of rounded up. I might have got some wrong because I don't know if they were correct numbers.
Some sales numbers are hard to track,
and some of them that were kind of tied because they were rounded up. I just put which one I personally think has more I would say I don't know, more in the mainstream consciousness. I ranked a little bit above it. I think the Dreamcast and the Saturn were kind of neck and neck. So I just put the Dreamcast above the Saturn. Stuff
because
like that.
It has Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, that was the whole that and Crazy Taxi. That was honestly the whole reason.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said because Crazy Taxi when you texted me, which is so valid. I mean, the Saturn's great, and I love the Saturn, and you're gonna hear me bat for it a lot in this discussion, but I get it, dude. Crazy Taxi and the Dreamcast one is the one with the Offspring. So I mean, how can you beat it? Now, I just want to clarify because this was messing with my eyes. It is not that the Sega CD and the Atari Lynx are competing for the top seed. That is just the first matchup, right?
Yeah. So it's based on this website, which we are not sponsored by, Print Your Brackets. They had another one like this that you couldn't edit.
A white box over that.
Yeah. It's gonna be are we gonna put a little gameplay video at the bottom?
Oh my god, yeah! Throw some gameplay, dude. Look, listen. This is 2025. This is we need to keep people's eyes on this. Dead ass. Throw some gameplay down there.
It's gonna be Subway Surfers.
Yeah, and no, that's literally what I was thinking. Do you have Minecraft gameplay?
I do not.
Just like you know how there's like gameplay of people just like jumping in Minecraft.
Yeah, the parkour.
Yes. Just get some Minecraft parkour right down there, cover up that logo, and keep people locked in.
Yeah, keep people entertained. Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, but the way this is set up is these guys on the ends are kind of like the lower, well, not the Dreamcast and the Jaguar, but it was just based on another bracket that I saw that actually had the numbers next to them of like what the seed would be, and then I just plug them in there. You couldn't edit that one, which had the numbers, but you could edit this one, which does not. So, anyway,
I wish that you were here and we could like record this at a table and us like penciling in these things. Yeah.
But unfortunately, cool. you moved across the country,
across the land. Yeah. Well, and I've been here for a while.
So we'll get. Why don't we get started and we'll cut these little tumorous growths.
Yeah, so we have kind of a play-in. We have like a play-in tournament here with these first 6, eh?
Yeah.
So
we'll start up here with the. Let's go in order. I think these are numbered to tell us which way to go. But we'll start with the Sega CD and the Atari Lynx.
All right.
I'm gonna let you bat for this because I don't. Yeah. I never owned either of these.
By the way, get ready, dog. Since you're editing this episode, get ready to edit out some sniffles.
I'm gonna leave them all in.
My nose is pretty bad. Leave them in, bro.
If I need a censoring term, can I just get you to say Mega Man sucks, so I can take that audio clip and use it if I need to censor something.
I can also just send you the Katamari sound things, and because they're funny to censor with. But sure, Mega Man sucks. Anyway,
thank you.
Yeah. So okay, I did own a Sega CD at one point. I never owned a Lynx, and that is for me for a good reason. I mean, dude, what do I have owning a Lynx? I didn't grow up in the era, and I owned a Game Boy, and I even owned a Game Gear at one point. And so the Lynx was always just like, maybe someday. Yeah. And now they're pretty expensive, so no. But the Sega CD, I don't know if the Lynx really has any good RPGs on it. The Sega CD has the 2 Lunar games and Vi or whatever, and then the other Working Designs game is Pop Full Mail, which I forget if that's really an RPG or not. It's got a little more of like an action RPG, I think, but I've never played it. But I have played Lunar, the first Lunar to completion, and Sonic CD. And I mean, there's not a ton of games on the Sega CD, but like, for me, Lunar and Sonic CD, like, I'm good, man. I'm golden with that. And then the Sega CD also is home to Snatcher. I mean, I know it's like a $4,000 billion game, but dog, that is a cool game. I've never played it, but I've seen it, and you know that game is just really cool. And the Lynx doesn't have anything that cool in its library. IMO, from what I've seen.
Counterpoint: the Lynx has awesome golf, apparently.
Oh,
and basketball.
Oh, we don't have anything. Speaking of golf, we don't have anything Neo Geo on here, do we?
You picked a lot of these consoles, so you got yourself to blame for that.
Yeah,
I went with like the ones that I know and have played and have owned over the years.
Dude, because I just thought about Neo Turf Masters or whatever it's called. Like SNK's golf game is so fucking good. And I was about to bat hard for that one, but then I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot about every console that SNK ever made.
The Lynx has a Ninja Gaiden 3.
All right, that doesn't count, bro. That ain't real.
It's what it says.
It might be on there, but that's a homebrew. I'm kidding. But the Lynx, I believe, was like Atari and Epix, or as some people call them, EPYX. Like the pack-in game for the Lynx, I believe, was like California games, like, you know, like how Epix made like California games, winter games, summer games, like all that nonsense. And like the Lynx was like developed by Epix.
There's a game on here. There's a game on here called Xenophobe. What the hell?
Yeah, it's an arcade game. It's on the NES as well. Yeah, it was an arcade game.
Okay.
It is called Xenophobe. I have it for NES. I have the manual too.
That's like to play the GameCube game Racism. That's just.
I was gonna say, yeah. I've got the GameCube game Racism. Yeah,
that's a weird name to me.
But yeah, Xenophobe is a game.
Yeah,
you come on over. You can play it, bro.
fly halfway across the country so you can play Xenophobe.
I have it and you can read the manual with me too. I have the game with manual. So
yeah, so I think we're both good with moving the Sega CD on.
Yeah, dude. The links. Look, if you grew up and the point of this is not to offend or anything, because I know that there are some diehard Lynx guys out there, but I don't know, man. It's just not for me.
Oh, my plan. Right. My plan is to offend specifically for the NES.
Oh yeah, because I'm here. Because I'm in a room. Yeah. All right, next on the play-in.
Yeah, right, Sega Saturn, Magnavox Odyssey. I think I have my answer.
I was gonna say we cannot jump to SNES and N64.
No, we're cutting off these growths here first.
Yeah. This is like the tumors of the console war.
I have my answer.
I love the Saturn. The Saturn is legitimately one of my favorite consoles of all time. It's so expensive to collect for the American games, and I got in when they were kind of right before a lot of them got ridiculous, and I got most of my games for under $100, which is like unheard of now. So if I were to ever collect for it again, I would just get the imports and even import the RPGs and then just use guides and shit. But magnificent console, really magnificent console. And then I talk about imports. There's a bevy of shooters as well. Spaceship shooters that were or shmups as people call them, only on the Japanese Saturn. And I had a few of those as well. And one of my favorite consoles of all time, no cap, that might be one that I'm really fighting for more than you might even think. So for me, it's the Saturn.
We're not fighting because for me, it's also
Saturn. What you ain't going back for the Odyssey?
Listen, it's I respect it for being it's the first video game console. So we got to give it that. But I've never owned either of these. I'm gonna be flat out. I've never owned either a Saturn or an Odyssey.
Saturn is so good. I love Sega Saturn.
Looking at the games for the Odyssey, half of it is just a sport. It's not even they're not even games. It's just football. It's football.
It's not even games because it's not even the first cartridge-based console, because the first console to use cartridges was the Fairchild Channel F, and the Magnavox Odyssey. You might be looking at the Odyssey 2, because the Odyssey 1 just has these little they look like kind of like cartridges, but they just say 1, 2, and 3 on them, and you plop them in, and it just the two dots on the screen do something different.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
it's not even a game.
And even the Saturn, which I again haven't owned, so I can't. I'm not going to be
I love it.
Going full on Saturn, but it's got I think the Saturn has the first Soul Hackers, right?
You might be right. It's either the Saturn or the Sega CD. We mentioned it last video, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was.
I believe it's the Saturn.
I thought it was the Saturn as well. I thought it was the first Soul Hackers, and then doesn't it have that weird 3D Sonic racing game? Was that the Saturn?
It's Sonic R, dude.
Sonic R,
fucking game. My favorite fucking game ever made, dude. Oh. Shut up.
Which,
by the way, I did own a legit Sonic R on the Saturn at a time. I actually grew up with that game. I got a Saturn in high school, so I don't count that as me growing up with it. I grew up with Sonic R because I had Sonic Gems collection on GameCube.
Oh, hold on, there's a Discworld
and it's on
game
there.
Oh hell yeah!
And I mentioned that in my Mario Sunshine video where I said I grew up with Sonic R and I had a sad childhood because of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry if me calling it the weird 3D Sonic racing game.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was funny that our last 3 messages to each other was, "Can you hear me? I can hear you."
Yeah. We good? Yeah, my audio's fucked up. Hang on. Yeah, literally. Discord streaming also is just they just can never get it right. Or I think that it's a conspiracy. It's a means to get you to buy Nitro because it's better on Nitro. But anyway.
Yeah, fuck Discord. Unless they want to sponsor our 10 subscriber podcast.
Yeah, facts. Hey, it's all good that it only has 10 subs. It's fun,
Yeah.
Or less.
Yeah. We love all 10 of you.
Yes, facts. Or 8 or however many there are.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah,
The
so
Sega
we're just gonna leave the Sega Saturn on.
I love the Sega Saturn. I'm gonna die on this hill really hard during this bracket, and I had Sonic R as a kid because I played Sonic Gems Collection on GameCube, and I think that's the PC version and not the Saturn one. But I also did own the Saturn one at some point, and like I said, I did not pay nearly what Saturn games go for now for a lot of those that I had. The Saturn also has Sonic 3D Blast, which is pretty bad. So there's definitely not like a great Sonic game on the Saturn, but I think that's kind of part of the magic for it for me is that the Saturn is like the Sega console where every other franchise got really a lot of attention, like Panzer Dragoon and Nights into Dreams and Virtual On and weird stuff with just great entries on the Saturn. So
yeah. I'm not going to argue with you against the Odyssey. When we get to the next round, as it's up against the Game Boy,
I will actually fight for the Saturn over the Game Boy.
Yeah.
We'll get there though. Stay tuned, folks, for my argument of why I like the Sega Saturn more than the Game
Boy. So next up, we have the Dreamcast versus the Atari Jaguar. And I already have my answer. And it was alluded to at the beginning of the video because one of these consoles has Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, the Dreamcast has Crazy Taxi, so that's kind of the easy pick. I've owned a Dreamcast. I've never owned a Jag. Even in my early collecting days, Jags were rare. They're pretty expensive, and now they're insane. I got my Dreamcast in box for $20 in like 2009, so... and lo and behold, Brian, the first two games I had, or first like three games I had for the Dreamcast were Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi, and Jet Set Radio. And so that is, and honestly, I did not own many other games for that console ever because that's about all I ever needed,
Yeah, it's like I've never owned an actual Dreamcast. I have played some of the games like Crazy Taxi. I played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2.
Yep.
And I played a little bit of Jet Set Radio. I still need to play the whole game. It's got to be the thing with the Dreamcast is it was at like such a you might disagree with this, but I think this was like the best console generation because
Gen
it had
6 with the GameCube.
Yeah,
dude,
the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, and Xbox. It was like the only time that we had all four.
Yeah, I would say that's my favorite generation as well. But I mean, we're so biased because that is like our generation.
Yeah, that's the generation we grew up with. That is prime
us.
Time when we were like really grown up. Yeah, so like I gotta go with the Dreamcast because, like I said, one of these consoles says Crazy Taxi, and that's enough for me. And Sonic, like I've said it before on the podcast, and we'll get into it when we get to the Genesis. But the Genesis was my first console, and I did play Sonic 1 and 2 a lot. I just was not good at them, so I never beat them.
Yeah. I've only beaten Sonic 2.
1 and 2. Yeah, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are the only two Sonic games that I've actually beaten fully through. And I quite liked Adventure 2. Yeah. Adventure 1, I like the ending, and I like the Sonic levels, which I know is like a,
it's a caveat that everyone gives about that game.
Yeah. But I also really like the general aesthetic of that game. Like, I love the hub areas. Like the city and then the jungle area.
You like that?
Yeah, can we get a little bit more of that just for
Enjoy editing that, Brian.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's going full raw footage.
All of this with the disconnect and everything.
Yeah.
Good
it just
Lord,
me silent for 3 minutes as we're trying to figure out the audio issues. I'm gonna take liberty to move the Dreamcast forward. I don't think either of us are batting for the Jag. Sorry to the people who really love the Jaguar, but
Jag is out, man. I mean, Jag's cool, but with the matchup, it's all about the matchup.
Yeah.
So who's next?
This next matchup is all you because I have not owned either of these, which is the Intellivision versus the Sega 32X.
I did own both. Again, got my 32X many years ago, $20 in the box, right? Like, things were different, folks. Like, when I talk about that I've owned like all these consoles, it's because I paid next to nothing for them and found good deals on eBay. And when I was in high school, I used to just snipe eBay like all day. And I had money from like babysitting and, just like working whatever job, and you don't have expenses in life, and so you just spend all your damn money on games. And I just wanted every console ever. I was just fascinated by everything. And so I had the whole, Genesis CD32X, just the beast that becomes. Mm-hmm. I had that. And then I had the beast that is the Intellivision. That console is ginormous. All those pre-NES consoles are giant. And they output some, sub NES level of graphics, which is just, it's awesome. And I'll tell you this, man, the Intellivision of all of them, I had an Atari, an Odyssey, a ColecoVision, an Intellivision, and I even had a TI-99 that was literally given to me, right? For free. Mm-hmm. In box, a bunch of games, just a bunch of shit, right? I was just helping this guy move. As someone my stepmom knew, and I was just helping him move, and I don't even think that I got paid to do it, because they were just like, "Hey man, you want the TI-99?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, bro!" So I got that, and I just had all those super old consoles like that because I was just fascinated by everything.
Yeah.
The Intellivision, I legitimately owned about half of the games, half of the games for it. I had 60 games in box. And it's a very easy. It's only 120. It's a really easy set.
I think it's 118.
Yeah. I had 60 all in box, because they're all dirt cheap except for 5 of them, which are then worth $4 million. It's something like that where it's such an easy set except for the very end. So
yeah,
I had a ton of Intellivision games, and I loved playing it. 32X, I did have, I had Doom, Star Wars, and this awesome game called Tempo. It's this, it's a platformer. It's got crazy good graphics, crazy color schemes. Just a really trippy platformer. Awesome game, Tempo. Mm-hmm. Cool music too. Yeah, and the 32X is awesome because it is that increase in graphics, but a lot of the games are 2D, and it's one of those where it's you can look at it on YouTube and you can kind of get the idea, but when you see a good 32X game in person, it's whoa, that is crisp, Yeah. It's a really neat console. I just, it just should have been its own thing and not an add-on for the Genesis, and not 6 months before the Sega Saturn came out. So with that, I'm gonna have to give it to the Intellivision, because the Intellivision has an absolute banging version of Burger Time, an amazing version of Bump and Jump, and a bunch of other just really fun arcade games. I know a lot of them are Atari ripoffs, but it's a fun console. It is, and if you have all the overlays and stuff, and just get in that crisp 1981 atmosphere, of gaming, it can be a really fun time to just have an Intellivision night. So I would put that above the 32X, despite the 32X being a pretty cool console.
Yeah, this is all you, because I would have just gone with the Sega 32X just because it's attached to the Genesis, and because it's got NBA
Knuckles.
Jam on it. So
it does have NBA Jam. It does have Knuckles Chaotix. I mean, it's got a nice. It has 20 games, and they're all great.
Yeah, but this is all you, because I have not owned or played anything on these besides for other systems. So we're gonna move the Intellivision on to the next round, and we're gonna move on down to. I know which one I want for this one. I said it before. We got the ColecoVision versus the Virtual Boy.
Oh, VB.
And I am batting for the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, VB all day. I did own both. I did own a Virtual Boy as well. Not kidding. And the VB is very fun to play when they work. They break very easily now. They're very fragile internally, not just externally with the stand and stuff, but internally there are some very fragile ribbon cables, and they're tough. They're tough to get in working order, and they're expensive as crap. But when you can play them, have you ever played a Virtual Boy?
I have not.
Damn, you never played mine? I guess I never brought it up to college. So
no, you didn't.
It's way too.
You just told me about how you had it, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah!"
They are. It's honestly now that it's oh God, now that it's 30 years old and it's such a novelty, you just are like, I don't know. This is maybe just for me. And I mean, dude, my channel is called VG Preserve. So like, screw me for being so nostalgic about things that are just, for geeking out on gaming history. You just put that on and you're like, I cannot believe Nintendo made this shit. I'm so excited. Like it's just, that's what it is. So the ColecoVision's okay, but not nearly as cool as the Intellivision in my opinion. So Phoebe.
Yeah, I think it was it the Scott the Woz video where he like mentioned the neck pain from the Virtual Boy?
Yeah. So the trick, what I've heard, and I did do this, you don't take it off the stand. And
you duct tape it to your face.
Yeah, like the AVGN, right? Yeah. He actually duct taped that thing to his head. And he has hair. So, but anyway, no, you lay down on your bed or your couch or whatever. You don't take it off the stand, and you let the stand rest on your chest while you have it on your face, and the stand actually really helps support it while you're laying down, and you got to turn the lights off, because good God, man, do not play that thing with the lights on, because when you take it off, then that's how you go vomit. Like, straight up. So when you take it off and you get the light blast your face, it's dude, you're barf city.
So I've not played anything against the Virtual Boy. I'm just batting for it because I love the concept of it, and it's also so got awesome. Jack Bros and Wario Land on it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Jack Bros is like a $9 million game, but it's all good.
Yeah, the best Megaten game.
Yeah. Little
better than Nocturne, better than Persona 5.
Screw Nocturne. I'm all about Jack Bros on the VB.
Yeah.
All right. So
better than Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance.
Right.
Get that shit out of here.
All right.
Jack Bros. So you can't see my screen right now, but on the bracket, I typed in Jack Bros by accident in a Virtual Boy.
I mean, also viable. All right. Next matchup.
Jack Bros by itself is moving. No, Virtual Boy is moving on. So the next matchup, and this is your one. I'm batting for the Ouya. It's the Ouya versus the Turbo GR.
First of all,
Fax 16. How do you pronounce it?
Isn't it Ouya?
I have no idea how you pronounce it, man. I did not know about this console until you sent me some consoles to put down. Yes.
Oh, you didn't know what the Ouya was? Dude, I tracked this thing when it was coming out. Like, I think this thing was, like, Kickstarted or something. But I remember there was kind of a lot of hype behind it. And it was like, oh, it's like this tiny little console that you can just, like, buy the games off of, like right here. And it had a lot of hype behind it. And there were some people who were, like, really talking about it. And, and then it just fell flat. And there were some, like, all right games on it. But yeah, the Ouya.
When you first sent it to me, I legit, because I had never heard of this thing, I legit thought it was that like fake console that Soldier Boy made.
Oh, I wish the Soldier Game handheld system for $39 for $199.99 was on this list. I wish, dude. No, that's hilarious. But anyways,
so
the answer's got to be the Turbo.
Okay, well, I was about to say I better hear you batting for the Ouya or the Ouya because you were the one that made me combine the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color so we could fit it on the list.
Put the Ouya on there. So, okay, I think, I might be wrong about this, but I think that it is actually impossible to even play an Ouya anymore unless you like have games downloaded on it already. Now, that because I think it was like all online. And so I think it's just like screwed. And I'll tell you this, if I bought a TurboGrafx 16, and here's the thing too, if we're counting all regions, because I did with the Saturn, the Japanese version of the Turbo is called the PC Engine, and it was wickedly more popular in Japan, and it is actually a phenomenal console. And it has, just the library is like 10 times what it is in the US. And so the Turbo has to go some kind of distance here because of the PC Engine. And obviously they didn't call it that in the US because that would be mighty confusing. But
I had a Sailor Moon game on it?
Yeah, there was everything on the PC Engine. And guess what, Brian? I owned a PC Engine at one point.
This is legitimately like this first part of this whole bracket has been you being like, I own this console.
Yeah, I never had an American.
I never even touched it.
I never had an American Turbo because they're ridiculously expensive. They always have been. Look up the game Magical Chase on the Turbo. It is like it's like more than a house. Or it's like $30,000, which is like a car, I guess.
Jesus.
But it's like a $30,000 game.
Never mind. We're pushing the Turbo. It's got Dragon Slayer Legend of Heroes 2 on it. Legend of Heroes 1. We're putting it on. We're pushing it through.
The Turbo is like actually a solid console, and like I said, if you count all regions, it's like like an actual powerhouse. Like So
yeah, I think we're both good with it because I'm a Falcom shill, and you
I just dig the console.
Just hate the Ouya for some reason.
Well, and that's my point is if I bought a PC Engine today, I could play it. If I bought an Ouya today, I could not play it.
So we're moving the Turbo Graphax 16. I'm gonna keep calling it that onward, and the Ouya is unfortunately getting shot in the shed and out back.
Which is the only thing you could probably do with the console if you bought it. So, all right. So now we're in like a real round, huh?
Yeah. We'll just go down. It's like numbered and shit, but I'm not gonna
just go down.
So we're just gonna go down the list.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with, and again, I already know which one I'm picking. We got the number 1 seed, the PlayStation 2 versus the Sega CD.
All right, Brian.
I think it's very obvious what I'm picking.
I don't think I could convince you of the Sega CD over the fucking PS2. Yep. The PS2 has like
probably my favorite console of all time.
The PS2 has like 2,000 games on it, and about 1,500 are great.
It had like first off, like, it has some of the best like JRPGs on it. You know, it's got like Xenosaga, it's got the Dot Hack games.
It's got everything.
It's got Dragon Quest 8. It's got Final Fantasy 10, which is the best Final Fantasy.
Great RPGs, great sports games, great racing games, great puzzle games, great music games. I mean, great licensed games because Simpsons Hit and Run is on there, even though I always considered it a GameCube game, but that's because it's my childhood. But like everything.
Jimmy Neutron Attack at the Twonkies. Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules.
Guitar Hero, like the first Guitar Heroes are on the PS2, like, and then even more Burnout 3, fucking Burnout 3. So PS2 might win this whole thing. So yeah, dude, against the Sega CD. I mean, dog, this is literally like UNC playing against like Gardner Webb right now, like.
Yeah. So you want to put any defense for the Sega CD?
No, Snatcher. Fine, whatever.
All right, good, because I already put PlayStation 2 as the winner.
Sonic CD, whatever.
All right. So this next one, now we went through that one real quick. This next one is probably one of the toughest rounds.
N64.
We've got the we got the Super Nintendo versus the N64.
It's not, bro. It's the SNES, bro, all day.
See. I agree that I think the library of like good games for the SNES is of course way larger and everything.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of the N64 games like more than I like. I mean, Ocarina of Time. It's Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Did you not have fun playing Side Pocket on the SNES together, Brian?
I did. But they haven't even seen that.
I know, because I'm like, I don't even like want to upload it because the audio quality is so bad.
Yeah, the audio is awful. We gotta play it again.
We gotta do it again. That's all that is, man.
Yeah, that's all that means. And I can also not do my terrible German accent again. But yeah, like I have to defend the N64 here just because of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, really, and Super Mario 64, because it's like. It's the pioneer of like 3D games.
All right, but
it had Super Mario 64, and also Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time.
And
also Majora's Mask, which, real quick, Majora's Mask, I mean, people talk about it all the time, but I think it's just like, because people talk about it all the time, it kind of like loses its meaning a little bit, but Majora's Mask is really ahead of its time with the whole time loop thing.
It's great.
And how it reused assets from Ocarina of Time. Mm-hmm. As a way to like cut down costs, but made its own game out of it.
Yeah, totally.
Without like seeming like cheap or like just was like a repeating Ocarina of Time. So like, I gotta give it that. But I also kind of agree that I think the Super Nintendo is just like a better overall library.
Right, because the SNES still has A Link to the Past, it has Mario World, it has the first 3 Mega Man X games, and again, if we're looking at all regions, there's also like Rockman and Forte or Mega Man and Bass, right?
Yeah.
Mega Man 7, it's got, let's see, Earthbound, Super Metroid, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 4 and 5 and 6, like, holy shit, that is so much better than the N64, bro.
Yeah, and also, it has also got I think Dragon Quest. I haven't played it, but I've heard Dragon Quest 5 is like one of the better ones. Although that's technically Super Famicom because it never came out on this.
But we're looking at all regions. We've decided the pants are off, dog. We're all regions, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, like I also agree. Like I just wanted to give the props to the N64 because even though I do think that like the Super Nintendo has like the better overall library, I think like at least 2 of those games I like better than anything on the SNES. Personally, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I like better than anything, and it's also got like like the first Smash Bros, like Star Fox 64.
Star Fox is like the game that I'll bat for the N64. Like, I love Star Fox 64.
Do you want to mention the Mario Party ones? Because I never played the N64 Mario Party.
I love Mario Party 2 and 3. Mario Party 1's a bit of a hot mess, but Mario Party 2 and 3 are phenomenal, and they still are. I've played them very recently because of Switch Online. And 2 and 3 are just, there's so much charm. There's just so much charm to them. And it's not that like, oh, I just missed the late 90s charm. It is like they just have a lot going for them. Great music, great boards, great mini games. That's all you need.
Okay, yeah, it's like I think the N64 does like get, because I think a lot of people kind of discredit its library, but it's got a pretty strong library, because not even
good
just that,
driving games.
Like,
really fun racing games, like in general.
The Mario Kart 64 has got Diddy Kong Racing,
but then like other shit too, like Cruising USA,
Banjo-Kazooie,
the cruising games and stuff, like they're fun, and like I know like there's like Ridge Racer on PlayStation, but there is also Ridge Racer on the N64, so and Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
I think. Yeah, and I do think, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think I actually prefer the N64 controller to the SNES controller. But I'm
looking at both of them right now because I have my Switch ones on top of my desk. Hell no, Brian.
I don't know. I think I'm just a little bit more nostalgic for the N64 controller. That's probably it.
Well, me too.
But like, because I just remember going over, because I never owned one myself. My cousin had one. Right. I remember going over on like the times where I like visit my cousin, and I would be like,
Mega Man sucks.
Running around like Peach's Castle with like the N64 controller, like it. Yeah, so like that's probably it. I do think the SNES one's probably just better designed, but I don't know. I know, and this is gonna apply for everything from this era, but I do really miss those like. It's really a nostalgia thing. Mm-hmm. I really miss those like there's a translucent casings for the consoles, like the colored, like the yellow or the orange,
Of course.
You could see the
board. Special editions
it.
for the 64 are awesome. All the Funtastics. Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, I'm super nostalgic for that. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the SNES is better. Mainly because it's got like again, I'm an RPG guy, so like what does the N64 have? Quest 64?
And Ogre Battle, and that's it. That's the thing,
okay,
dude.
Yeah, that's it.
The N64's lineup of RPGs is like non-existent, where the SNES is like one of the original like RPG machine consoles. You know?
It also had I think the first was the first Star Ocean on the
on Super Famicom.
Yeah, and then I also think I think the first 2 Shin Megami Tenseis were also on the SNES,
and Shin Megami Tensei If.
Oh yeah.
SMT If
is on there. I think we're both good with the SNES moving on, right?
SNES over to 64. Sorry, but
Yeah, so the N64 is good. But
it's the matchup. It's the matchup. It's a hard matchup. The 64 would beat like the 32X, but it didn't get matched up. So
that's how the seeds work.
It's how it's marked.
That was one of the toughest ones on here.
It's not called March predictability. It's called March Madness. All right.
And meanwhile, we're probably gonna have like the PlayStation 2 versus the Switch at the end of this.
Yeah, seriously. Well, that's how it ends too, though. A lot of the time, your championship is like 2-1 seeds. It's like, oh yeah, Kansas and North Carolina. No shit.
Yeah. What I was surprised by was that the DS on our seat is actually second. But anyway, I didn't know it was sold that much, honestly. But anyway, moving on to this one's kind of easy for me. I don't know about for you, but we have the Xbox 360 versus the Sega Master System.
Dude, 360. What the fuck?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna. You have been very on board with Sega for this.
I've owned every Sega console except the Master System. So.
Okay, I also have not owned a Master System, so
it is the only one I did not own. I straight up I had the, and I didn't have the Sega Nomad, but like shut up. But anyway, I had the Genesis, the CD, the 32X, the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and even the Game Gear, and so
yeah,
but no Master
System.
So
this was also one of my favorite console generations, the 7th generation. Yeah. Which again, because we grew up with it.
Yeah.
I personally didn't own an Xbox 360. My brother did, and we would like do this because I own a PlayStation 3. He had an Xbox 360, and whenever we wanted to play a game that the other person had, we'd like swap consoles.
Yeah.
Nice. Because we're just like right next to each other. That's awesome. So I played the Xbox 360 a lot. It's got Halo 3.
It's got Halo 3, Halo Reach, everything,
and like even like. I don't know how you want to handle like multi-platform releases because this is where we start to get into
but it has like the better versions of Call of Duty, you know? Like it was just obvious
it's got the better versions
to play COD on 360 over PlayStation, you know?
Yeah, the only reason you would play it over PlayStation is because it was free online at the time. Not anymore. It was free online and you had friends that played it on PlayStation like I did.
Right. But everything was 360 for me back in the day. Like everyone had 360s and everything was
like
Xbox.
It performed better. So when we get into this, because with the next matchup, we might have the Xbox 360 going against the PlayStation 3, depending on how you feel about the next one. Nice. But the PlayStation 3, I do think, we can get into this more, but I do think like the console itself of like, because of all the different features and everything, I think was better. And like the overall, like the exclusive library, but the Xbox 360 had like better versions of games that were for both. Yeah, just like Skyrim. If you've ever played Skyrim on the PlayStation 3, that's how I was introduced to Bethesda games. They are unplayable.
Yeah.
If you put too many items into that one chest in Breeze Home and Whiterun, the next time you walk into Whiterun, it moves at 2 frames a second.
Right,
it's ridiculous.
It's brutal. Yeah, the PS3 was one of those like. Similar to the Sega Saturn or the Atari Jaguar, where it was like an archaic console and it was hard to program for, and so people couldn't make games as well for them other than like, you know, the first parties. And so that's why something like Killzone 3 was like really impressive at the time, and it, you know, took like full advantage of the PS3's hardware, but like then Call of Duty would come out and it would look like the game was like underwater, you know? I would definitely give it to the Xbox 360. Me too. And I believe you said you would give it to the Xbox 360. All right. Sorry, Sega Master System. Yeah, sorry. You don't got any shooters on this one. Let me tell you this. I have 3 consoles, like kind of with my PC setup that I record off of for games. They are the Switch, the GameCube, and the Xbox 360. So if I had to give you 3 favorite consoles, it's probably those 3. But NES is also there, and then, you know, the only other consoles that I really own are like the Wii and the PS4, and that's about it. So, you know, I'm very limited these days in what I play, whereas, like I said, when I was in high school, I just wanted everything, and I owned a fucking Odyssey 2, you know? Like, I just had everything, and nowadays I'm just like, you know, I have my like 5 that I love, and I just want to get like a nice deep library for those 5.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're both good at the Xbox 360. And real quick, I do want to say it's probably got like one of the best controllers.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's not my favorite. I still think the GameCube is probably my favorite. Probably. And even though I am a Sony shill. Yeah. And I do like the DualShocks and the DualSense. I do think the Xbox controllers just feels better.
360 is.
I think the buttons they feel a lot better on the 360 and everything. The
360 controller is home. It's straight up its home. Like when I hold that and when I hold the GameCube controller, my hands just feel like they are in their natural.
Yeah, they're in the right spot.
They're in their gamer spot. Yeah, exactly. Whereas when I hold, you know, other controllers, it's just like.
Yeah.
So all right, next matchup.
Next matchup. So depending on how you feel about this, I again have an answer already.
Yeah,
it's the PlayStation 3 versus the Wii U.
PS3, dude. PS3. Fuck the Wii U.
I thought you were gonna like joke bat for the Wii U.
I could, but I'm not trying to fucking fuck around for 40 minutes talking about the Wii U. Look, have you played the Switch? Oh, then you've also played the Wii U, right? Like straight up, you know. I mean,
now, legitimately, the only things that are on the Wii U that are not on the Switch are Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. Which, first off, are like the two most obvious ports to make, right?
And they're only HD remakes. Like, you're literally like, okay, the exclusives on the Wii U are 2 GameCube games.
They are also the only 2 3D Zelda games that are not on the Switch.
I know, it's brutal. But and Wind Waker is like my favorite. But yeah, so no, I mean, like I've talked about my Wii U time extensively on this pod, and I mean, I loved it, and I really tried to just be positive about it for those years, and Brian, that changed me as a man, and it really that affected
I'm a different person.
It affected my development, trying to love the Wii U, and so.
And now that Xenoblade Chronicles X is getting a Switch port this month.
This month,
the
March
20th.
Yep, probably right around the time this episode goes up.
Yeah, it's just got 2 holdouts left, and other than that, it's just a version to play HD Wii games.
Right, which I will probably still buy a Wii U this year to play Wii games in HD instead of using like crappy upscalers and stuff. But anyway,
but yeah, and then just real quick, I want to talk briefly about the PlayStation 3. I think it's got a really solid like exclusive lineup. It's got like this is one of the consoles I grew up with, so it's got like Infamous 1 and 2. It's got the original Uncharted trilogy. It's got like.
Which I never played much of that stuff. I never played the first 2 Infamous games. I played Second Son, but
Yeah, I honestly think Infamous 1 and 2 are better than Second Son. I quite like Second Son. It's a very good game, but I think 1 and 2 are better.
Yeah, I'll have to give them a shot.
It's very, and this is also the era where like I want to say this is where like remasters, like the remaster like collections and stuff started to really kick off.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, because like it had Devil May Cry, it had there's the Jak and Daxter trilogy, the Ratchet and Clank one.
I did own a PS3 at one point in my life, because I owned every console. Yeah. So I did own a PS3, and I did play a lot of that stuff, just not as much as the 360. And I know that I had some of those remaster collections because why not?
Yeah, and also the Kingdom Hearts ones too. But to quickly finish off the 2 that I gotta have to mention, Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, which are 2 of my favorite games of all time. So there you go. Yeah, so this next one, this is where we'll get into an argument. Probably. We got the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Match both together against the Sega Saturn.
Yeah. I'm here to bat for the Saturn because I don't like handheld games anymore, I've realized. And honestly, like, a lot of stuff on the Game Boy, like, there's definitely some good titles. Like, Metroid 2 or whatever, and there's definitely some solid titles, but when it comes to like RPGs and platformers, and I mean the Saturn even has some cool 3D games and stuff, and like I said, if we're considering all regions, shoot 'em ups and everything, I mean the Saturn's just got more going for it, and it's one of the few times I'll pick Sega over Nintendo.
Well, I will just have to say that out of these 2, the other one, I mean, I've owned the Game Boy Color, and I have played a lot of Game Boy games, specifically, mainly Pokemon, and then also the Legend of Zelda games. So that's why I'm really batting for the Game Boy, because I think the Oracle games are really underrated.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people look at them, and if they don't really know what's going on, they think they're just like Pokemon, where it's like, oh, you can play one or the other. No, they're two different games that are connected, right? And that's really cool. And
so then you also I'll have to concede this because I've never played those. There's a lot of Game Boy games that I haven't played, and it's going to be very hard for me to sell the Sega Saturn, I think, because I'm just kind of like a weird kid that likes it. So I understand that like the Game Boy is likely the much better console, but the Saturn is just my special little boy.
It's like. And I'm also really nostalgic for like this Pokemon era, because I really like Red and Blue. Yellow's pretty good too, and then I recently played Gold and Silver for the first time,
and I do love Crystal, So.
Yeah, so it's like if I want to go with the Game Boy, but if you want to go with the Saturn, we can.
You can move the Game Boy up because it just doesn't make any sense to push the Saturn this far into this bracket.
Are you sure?
I love. I am
willing to concede for the Saturn, but
I love the Saturn dearly, but I understand. So
okay, so we're gonna push the Game Boy, and Game Boy Color. Whoops, GBC. There we go. And then this next round, this might ruffle some feathers. PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series.
Oh fuck! I can't speak to this at all.
Well, I can. PlayStation 5.
All right, move it on. I don't even give a fuck about the Xbox Series, bro.
I have not even touched an Xbox Series. and like I really don't have a. It's like what does it have? And I know
other than like
a big thing is
Game Pass and backwards compatibility.
Yeah, most of the games are being moved to PlayStation, and I'm not trying to say the PlayStation 5 is great because
it's not. This whole generation sucks.
It's gonna survive the next round.
Yeah,
it's got there's a lot of games, and PlayStation 5 is like one of my main consoles that I play. But that's just because it's got games, but they're also on the PlayStation 4 and PC. Like,
right.
It's my go-to console. It's got trophy support, and I really like the DualSense. But like, it doesn't really have like a lot of super like exclusive things that are like. The only one I can think of is Astrobot, which is a phenomenal game. I will never knock Astrobot. That's an amazing game. I highly recommend. But
think about that versus the PS2. You know.
Yeah, like it's like it's a kind of a dry streak for Sony right now. And it's not to say that some of the like there's some great games that are coming out for the PS5, but it's a little dry. Mike Wazowski. There's it's not a lot. It's just because when there's a PlayStation 5 game, it's also either going to be on PlayStation 4 or on PC or both.
Right, well. We just never entered this generation because like it's the console that nobody could find and that nobody could ever afford, and then they made an $800 version of it without a disc drive, and I'm like,
without a disc drive.
That's what we need, guys. Yep, that's what everyone really needs right now in this economic state and in this state of media. That's what everybody wants.
And it's like So I do have a lot of problems with it. I do like it. I do like how it looks like this. It looks like Seto Kaiba.
Yes, that's arguably the best feature.
And I honestly, I really love the DualSense. I think it's cool. I think it's really neat when games actually play into it, like Astrobot and Deathloop. And like it's something that I thought would be really gimmicky when I heard about it. But when I play a game with it, it's honestly really it's honestly like really cool because one of the recent ones is I think Cyberpunk. When it had its PlayStation 5 port, it had a DualSense compatibility to it. And I have gone on record to say that I don't like Cyberpunk 2.0. I prefer it. I think 1.6 is the best version of Cyberpunk. So, but you can't play 1.6 on PlayStation 5 anymore. You can only play 2.0 and onwards. So, in order to play 1.6, you either have to play a PlayStation 4 version or downgrade on PC. Right. And when you downgrade on PC, you can use a PlayStation 5 controller. Doesn't have DualSense, and it feels wrong. Yeah. Like I played it with a PlayStation 5 controller, and without the DualSense support, it loses some of that like immersion. I know it's like such a small thing.
No, but it matters.
I think it does do a lot. I think it does do a lot.
Well, who's next?
All right, so this one is an easier one for me. It's next up. We have Nintendo 3DS versus the original Xbox.
Oh, 3DS.
Yeah. Because I never owned an original Xbox. I mean, it's got Halo 1 and 2.
Let me tell you about the original Xbox and why it's totally not going to move forward. And I know that this is something that you can repair and it's fine, blah, blah, blah. The amount of original Xboxes that I owned that the disc drives eventually just went bad on them, it's more than any other console, like, ever. And whenever I see them in a thrift store, like, I will take a chance on a PS2 or a Wii or like almost anything, even disc-based, right? Cartridge-based, no question. But when I see an original Xbox, I run like hell because the drives are so bad on them.
Yeah, I think that was a some problem with I think the PS2 Slim, right? Where like the way that the disc reader was like positioned would like overheat or something.
PS1,
right? Was that the PS1?
The PS1 would burn out the drive, I think, because the power supply was too close to it and you have to turn it upside down.
It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. The 3DS, I love the 3DS. Me too. It's gimmicky, but I love it. It's got so many good games on there.
Yeah, and people moved past the gimmick and they just kind of gave up on the 3D support and they're like, all right, this is cool or whatever, but we're just going to make great games, you know?
Yeah. It's just a bigger DS. I like how it's got backwards compatibility with the DS.
It's great.
But it's got like some great games in its own right, like
Project Cross Zone.
It's got Kid Icarus.
Do you know what Project Cross Zone is?
I've heard of it.
It's actually really fun. I remember I used to play it a lot when I was in high school. It's actually how I learned about who Kite was from Dot Hack.
Oh, right, you did tell me that. Yeah.
Yep, I learned about dot hack from Project Cross Zone, and I thought Kite was cool. So then I bought the dot hack games,
which are now like $500.
And again, I paid like $100 for maybe all of them.
Yeah. But anyway, 3DS got great games. A Link Between Worlds is one of the best Zelda games in my opinion. Triforce Heroes, which is the worst Zelda game in my opinion, or the worst mainline Zelda game in my opinion.
Yeah, people hate that game. Yeah.
And then it's got Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. It's got like a lot of some of them are DS, but there was like a lot of like Shin Megami Tensei games on there too. Like
totally.
I think the Devil Survivor re-releases, and then Soul Hackers, its remake, and then Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 4 Apocalypse. Yeah. And then you also had like a lot of the Mario games on there, like
3D Land. 3D Land's fun. Yeah. Man. It's a fun game.
It didn't also have a Metroid 2 remake?
The eShop maybe had that.
I thought it was like it's a Metroid 2 Samus Returns, and then I think the remake's called Return of Samus.
Something like that, but I think it's digital only. I don't know if that ever got a physical.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame that the store shut down, but I still love the 3DS. I think it's great.
Me too. It's a great
also
system.
Want to mention Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, which it's very mixed opinions from Kingdom Hearts fans. I love that game though. It's very whimsical. Love it. I know you love Kingdom Hearts.
It's very whimsical, just like you, Brian.
Oh, thank you. All right, so we're good with moving the 3DS on?
Absolutely, dude. The OG Xbox.
You want to bat for the
whatever? I just play the OG Xbox
real quick.
games
Do you want
to?
What about the controller from the OG Xbox?
The Duke, the big boy.
Yeah, the Duke. You don't want to put that in consideration.
The Duke was a mistake, but the slim version of the original Xbox controller is actually pretty good. But
yeah.
It has the weird black and white buttons where like white is the button that turns on your flashlight in Halo.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next round, which I think might be up for contention.
Okay.
I'm going to bat for one. It's the Dreamcast versus the PlayStation 4.
No, I have to go PS4 with you.
Okay. All right.
I would.
Yeah, because I do
love my PS4. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the Dreamcast, but the PlayStation 4 I think is like the best. Like it was Sony's resurgence.
It's a much better console, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got Uncharted 4, it's got Infamous Second Son, Kingdom Hearts 3,
Resogun.
Trails games.
It's got Resogun, dog.
Yeah, Resogun. It's got God of War 2018. Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'll tell you, I got the PS4 the day it came out, and I've kept my original model ever since, and it's one of the only consoles like that I didn't sell.
I had my original model, then it broke.
Yeah,
but I got a Pro for free from
and
that.
And also, I gotta put this in it too. My girlfriend wanted to voice some opinions as well for this, and she was pushing for the PS4. So,
all right, good.
Yeah, so
we're all on the same page.
She said like, hey, like, put in a good word for the Wii and the PS4 for me. So,
there's no good word needed.
Yeah. So I think we're all three in agreement that the PS4 is a really, really good console. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think the DualShock 4 is probably the best rendition of the DualShock.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, I do like it. Yeah. That's another one of those like it feels like home consoles. Holding that controller. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're good with the PS4. Moving on. Next up, we have an easy one for me: the Nintendo DS versus the Intellivision. So, why don't you let us know why the Intellivision should win?
That is like when like the 13 seed beats the 4, and then they end up playing against like the 2 seed next. It's just like, oh crap. We'll go with the DS.
Are you sure? You went through this whole thing about how you like the Intellivision more than the Sega 32X.
That's because that was my own little, I get to do this whole debate myself because I'm the only motherfucker out here that owned both. So, I'm going to have to go with the DS, man.
Yeah. I mean, come on. It's got the 2 Zelda games I think are, well, Spirit Tracks I think is underrated. Phantom Hourglass is It's got the best Pokemon games, I think.
Actually, yeah, Phantom Hourglass sucks. Put the Intellivision forward.
Like it's got Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, Black, White.
Heart Gold,
Black
Soul Silver
2,
does
White
it for
2.
me. Heart Gold, Soul
Yeah.
Silver is like an argument to make the DS like go all the way, like no cap.
Yeah, I think the Game Boy Advance and the DS eras of like Pokemon are the best.
It's nuts, like how good those games got. Yeah.
And then and then it's also got like The World Ends With You and some other, like,
you want to talk about one of the most banging soundtracks ever.
Oh yeah, World Ends With You. It's an amazing soundtrack.
Man, oh man, what a soundtrack.
Yeah. And then I people would yell at me if I don't mention it. It's also got Kingdom Hearts Days, which I think the gameplay sucks, but the story is really good. And it's also got Kingdom Hearts
Is that
Recoded,
the one that's like Kingdom Hearts 303 and a third days and 42 seconds? Is that the
it's how you pronounce it. Apparently, it's Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days.
All right, bro. Whatever.
Or Kingdom Hearts 358 days over 2. Whatever it is.
Kingdom Hearts Days. I like just calling it that. Kingdom
that's
Hearts Days In, because you're going to be playing a game while you're staying at a Days In because it's on the DS. So anyway, next.
And then DS is good. And it's also got a really good Mario Kart too. I remember playing the shit out of Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's solid.
DS
I used to scream at it though, so I have a bit of a vendetta against it. But I was an angry kid. So
so snap your DS in half.
It was like the game that made me nearly do that. Yeah, just like blowing it at Mario Kart DS.
And the DS, I would like to add, because I think the 3DS added this. I think the DS, at least the original DS Lite, where you closed it and it still played.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So like that was one of the harder ones to hide under your pillow when your parents think you're asleep when you're a kid. You want to get a few more. You want to beat the Ice Gym in Pokemon Platinum.
Yeah, man.
And you couldn't figure out how to fucking get to the gym leader because you suck at puzzles. And I know I'm saying you here just to hide the fact that it was me.
It's the general sense of you. All right.
Yeah.
So DS.
Anyway, moving on to another easy one for me, which is the Xbox One versus the Sega Genesis.
All right, it's the Genesis.
Yes.
Easy.
That was my first console. It's got so many good games on there.
Even though I'm not like a huge Genesis guy, like, come on, dude, the Xbox One, that thing is buns. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's not bad. Like, I played a few things on the Xbox One. I saw the other places on the Switch were better.
Titanfall in the glory days. The glory days of Titanfall were great.
I legitimately think the only thing that I played on it are Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which you can also get for the PlayStation 4.
I think the only game I played on it was Titanfall.
Okay. The Sega Genesis, just to go a quick run through, I think we're both on the same page on this.
Yeah.
Great console. Love the controller. I love the feel of the buttons.
The ABC, nice and big.
Yeah. And then it's got some great games on there. Mortal Kombat. I know they're different, but
great Jurassic Park game. Great Jurassic Park game on there too.
Yeah, I know they're different from the Super Nintendo, but the Aladdin and Lion King games, and then also a lot of great sports games on there. I remember like a hockey and a football.
NHL '94, really man, that's the dawn right there. Yeah,
and there's also a Tiger Woods one on there.
Yeah,
call that was really good. I think we're good with the Sega Genesis.
Next,
and then we got to mention Sonic. I'm not a huge Sonic fan. I do like Sonic 1 and 2, but
I'm right there with you on that.
All right. I think it's another easy one. Oh, actually, this one might be a little. Nah.
Right, what's up?
Okay. Game Boy Advance versus PlayStation Vita.
That's actually a little tough.
I think the Game Boy Advance probably takes it for me, but
I might actually.
I don't want to discredit the Vita's library because it did have a good library.
The Vita is so secretly a great console. Brian, I'm actually gonna lean Vita on this one
because
you have my Vita too.
I
sold you my
nostalgia.
Vita.
Yeah, I have way more nostalgia for the Game Boy Advance. But the Vita had a really good library. There's a lot of sleeper hits on there, like JRPGs and stuff.
There was a stat that I heard back in 2015 or whatever, when the Vita was still alive, that was the average Vita owner owns 10 games or 9 games for it. That's insane.
Jeez.
that the average owner has more way more than 5 games, because how many people just buy a console and buy FIFA once, the fact that the average ownership number was 9 games for the Vita is really high.
Yeah, it's it. I do think I still have to go with the Game Boy Advance, but I can't discredit the Vita's library because it's got like Persona 4 Golden, it's got Ys 8, it's got
There's a cool game on there too
called Steel 1 and 2
called Freedom Wars. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
Yeah, Freedom Wars. Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah, I played that game to completion. I really like that game. Great music.
There's a lot of like there's also like a lot of like lesser known
Tearaway,
like
the original version. I know it got a PS4 port eventually, but Tearaway was, it's Media Molecule. It's the guys who made Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
The OG Tearaway is so fun. That game is ridiculously fun. Yeah. And then for me, music rhythm / puzzle, one of the most fun games ever, and introduced me to some great electronic music. This game called Lumines Electronic Symphony. I used to play that thing for hours and hours and hours. It's just a fun puzzle game. It's got like Aphex Twin music is on there. Like, damn, like there is so good. So for me, dog, it's the Vita. I'm not crazy about any of the Game Boys, like no cap. So give me the Vita. If you want to move the GBA, but if you want to move up the GBA, you can. But I'll just be over here batting for the Vita.
Because like the GBA had Minish Cap. The GBA had well, fucking, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're missing out on some good games. Yeah. It had Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire and Leaf Green. Again, some of the best Pokemon games.
Those are very good for sure.
But yeah, no, I think even though I'm more nostalgic for the Game Boy Advance, I honestly think I have to give it to the Vita because it's got such like so many sleeper hit like JRPGs and stuff.
The Vita's library is so sneakily great.
Yeah. I think we're both good with the Vita.
Yeah, I'm game.
Yeah, so people might get pissed off. I love the Game Boy Advance. It's just
And me too. I just don't love it anymore.
Matchup. Yeah.
I loved it as a kid. It's a very hard matchup. This is like an 8 going up against a 9. It's like it could go either way, right? It's just it's a tough matchup. I'm very nostalgic for the GBA, but the Vita is cash.
Yeah. So next up we've got this is a tough one. The Wii versus the Sega Game Gear.
I told you too. The Wii gets bonus points because my girlfriend, was voting for the Wii. So even if it was a tough matchup, I'd say that pushes it over the edge. But yeah, man, I owned a Game Gear. It's one of the only times I've ever soldered in my life was to fix it, and I played it maybe 4 times after I soldered it. And I was like, well, I don't know about this.
You put the Game Gear on here, so you want to bat for it?
It's got some alright games. I mean, Sonic Drift or whatever is like a cool racing game. It's got some of the Sonic games are alright on there for sure, and it's you can play Columns on the go. Like who doesn't want to play Columns on the go, right? Like that's it, Brian.
Yeah, I think we both are good with the Wii. It's the family console. It's the one that you get all your parents playing, really get into. Everybody in the family get into Wii Sports Bowling. And it's Skyward Sword, which is like I honestly really love that game. Twilight Princess, even though it was also on the GameCube, but I actually believe the Wii version released first, even though the GameCube version was developed first. I think it was like a week apart they were released. Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, the Wii's
one of the best. My favorite Mario game.
I played Wii Sports this morning. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it's
I just fired it up.
Wii Sports Resort too.
They're both phenomenal. And it's still fun.
I think the Wii just clears. I think the Wii just clears. Next one. Ooh, another tough one. Nintendo Switch versus Virtual Boy.
They need to put the VB library on NSO, but the Switch is phenomenal. It's so versatile. There's a reason why it's right here next to my computer for recording gameplay because there's just so much you can do with the Switch. I love it.
Yeah, it's got a ton of games on there. Like how much like they've actually managed to get on there that actually like works, and you're like, I wouldn't expect this to work on a Switch. This game, and it still does. Yeah, it's incredible. Yep. And it's got so many like great exclusives too, like Breath of the Wild, Echoes of Wisdom, the Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah,
it's great.
I've never played Odyssey.
Although it's cap. Yeah, although it's you haven't, it's very good.
I have never played Odyssey, which is wild because like I love Mario Sunshine and Galaxy and even 64. And I've never played Odyssey.
I recommend it. It's very good.
Yeah.
I think it's probably got the tightest controls of any of the 3D Mario games.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we can both give it to well, it doesn't have Jack Bros.
No, that's what I mean. If they put the VB library on NSO, then they're golden. But
yes, I think we have to give it to the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, actually. All right, Switch.
All right, we'll put the Nintendo swap.
Yeah, the Swip swap.
Oh, I spelled Nintendo wrong.
Nice.
Nintendo Switch. All right, next one. Ooh, another tough one. NES versus Atari 2600.
It's got to be the NES.
Yeah, the one that ruined the video game market and the one that saved it.
Yeah, quite literally. One of those has E.T., the other one has fucking Zelda. All right, next.
Yeah. I was going to go into this like legitimately just like devil's advocate for everything, but I cannot do it just for everything for the
Atari.
NES.
The Atari's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, trust me, there's cool games on it. Yar's Revenge, River Raid, all that stuff. It's great, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna play the NES.
It's got the first two Final Fantasies. It's got Zelda 1 and 2. It's
got Mario 3.
First two Mario games.
Yeah.
The first two Castlevania games, Metroid,
Ninja Gaiden, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I mean, the NES library is so fucking good. 6 Mega Man games. Come on, bro.
Yeah, that's all you.
That's all me. But six Mega Man games, man. So it's
I got to the Wily Stage 1 and original Mega Man. Had to do the platforming with the dog. Couldn't figure it out, and then stopped playing it.
Mega Man 2.
That's what I said, right?
No, you said original Mega Man. It's Mega Man 2.
Oh, I did say original Mega Man? I meant Mega Man 2.
It's Mega Man 2. And it's not the dog. Rush didn't start until Mega Man 3. Do you even know Mega Man is?
Well, what was the rocket thing? You got to use.
It's just called Item 2. It's just called Item 2 because they didn't turn it into a dog yet.
Do you think I'm caught up with Mega Man lore? I don't even know what the difference between Mega Man 6 and 7 is.
Right. Other than 1. Difference between 6 and 7 is 1.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, ha, math joke. Anyway, moving on to one that it should be tougher than it is, but I can't lie. PSP versus GameCube.
GameCube.
Yeah.
Do not tell me the PSP is better.
I am not. I will say the PSP also, like the Vita, has like a really like sleeper hit library, especially like JRPG wise.
No, and I love the PSP. You ever played bro, like, all right, hold up. Have you ever fucking played Patapon?
I have not.
After that introduction, you need to.
I know. You like I could hear you getting closer to the microphone with like each breath.
There's 3 of them. I don't know how they made 3 games out of it, but okay, Brian, it is like the greatest game ever made.
Oh, I have seen this before.
Yes, it's like War Conquest. You play as these cute little circle guys that have spears, and it's a music rhythm game, and you go peta 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 pon, and then they kill people. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like the PSP has so many like great games on it, like its library. It's got it's got a lot of it. It's got the first 5 Trails games. It's got fucking Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
There's 2 kinds of people in the world, Brian. There's you playing your RPGs on your PSP, and there's me going
and you're playing
Patapon. Have you ever played Loco Roco? Have you ever played that one?
God, I don't think so.
Another fun game where you just like roll it. All right, it's like, you caught me a Katamari fan. You just like roll balls around, whatever.
Oh, yeah, no, this is actually, I believe this is referenced in Astrobot.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Great art style.
There's a whole level of this.
Yeah,
there's a whole level for this.
Great art style, everything. Very fun game, Loco Roco, and there's multiple ones of them. Straight up, Brian, if I bought a PSP in modern day, I think there's 2 Loco Rocos. I would need Loco Roco 1 and 2, and Patapon 1, 2, and 3, and I wouldn't buy any other games.
That's it. That's the only games you're ever playing. The whole channel would be just those 5
Patapon channel. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're both good with moving the GameCube.
Yeah, despite just like really going for the PSP right there, the GameCube's my favorite console ever. So like, fuck off. But, you know.
GameCube again. Like I said, this is my favorite era of consoles. Like it's just so good. The GameCube it's my favorite controller. It's got so many great games: Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Super Mario Sunshine.
There's just cool things about the GameCube, like the Wavebird, that it's like really wireless. It's not like aiming a remote out of infrared. Like it's true, it's a true wireless controller, and like the component port on the GameCube. Like, dude, the GameCube was released in a time where people did not have TVs that supported like component cables, you know, but the GameCube had that, and now I use it and use the HDMI adapter that goes in there and stuff, and it's really cool. It's a really cool console, and just infinite memories that I have with the GameCube. So nothing's going to top that for me. Even Patapon cannot beat the GameCube. The Patapon portable cannot beat the GameCube for me.
Yeah, it's the GameCube is great. And I also did want to mention, because like going into this, I wanted to mention it. It's got the two greatest sports games of all time: MVP Baseball 2004 and 2005. Fantastic!
I thought you were going to bat for man? NBA Courtside, because that's a GameCube exclusive sports game with Kobe on the cover.
I played that one.
It's awesome. There's an exclusive rap in the beginning as well, like an original rap song.
Not better than the DK rap though.
No, nothing's better than that. That's the greatest song ever made, dude.
Yeah, I think we're both good with moving the GameCube forward. Oh, it's also got a Tales of Symphonia too, with some good like RPGs on there. And
sure does.
I think even though it was a Dreamcast game, it's also got the Skies of Arcadia like director's cut, whatever the hell it's called.
Yep.
Which I think like fixed a lot of problems people had with the Dreamcast version.
Yeah. GameCube's sweet,
I own that.
Man. Yeah.
It's very good. Okay.
Are we finally in the round?
Here.
Are we finally in the next round?
No, this is the last one.
Okay.
Of this last round. So we have the Turbo Gafax 16 versus the PlayStation, the original PlayStation.
PS1.
Okay, good.
Because that one, debate. Even considering all regions, because the PS1 also has a banging Japanese lineup.
Yeah, it's so good. The Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, probably like the strongest
9.
Era of Final Fantasy in my opinion.
I love 7 and 9.
Final Fantasy 4 through 10 is like the strongest era of Final Fantasy in my opinion. But like, it's got that. It's got Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider.
A bunch of obscure RPGs, you know, everything. Yeah. Shoot 'em ups, RPGs, platformers. You ever heard of Einhander?
Yes, I have.
Awesome.
That was a Square Enix game, I believe.
Awesome.
Or Squaresoft, sorry.
Yeah, Squaresoft. Right before they were Square Enix, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But
I think the last game that was Squaresoft was actually the first Kingdom Hearts, I think.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
I think Square Enix happened like immediately after that.
If you have not listened to Einhander's soundtrack, put that shit on and just close your eyes, and it's gonna be like the first time you ever listen to Tool, and like your third eye opens up, you know. So.
Yeah. Third eye. Yeah, it's like I did want to mention this. I think probably PlayStation 2 is the last era of this. And don't get me wrong, I love the PlayStation 3, like that era, like the Wii, PlayStation 3, and all that. But I think the soundtracks were better pre-PlayStation 3. Era, yeah. You mean like 7th generation. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's like different. I like it. I love a lot of orchestral stuff, so yes. I love a lot of soundtracks in that, and that's when they started to really push that.
Yeah.
I think modern soundtracks now, of like the kind of like Breath of the Wild, you know, like they're trying to make like a movie ambient soundtrack. I think I'm not a big fan of those.
It's just a little bit,
but I do like
overdone.
Yeah, I do like the bombastic like orchestras and choirs. Like you get like Super Mario Galaxy and all that.
Yes.
Like Skyward Sword.
But my thing is, I love drum and bass, and that's
what I was going to mention.
Yeah, that whole genre, like the jungle music and like all that type of shit. All that 90s, like dude, even like Mario 64 has like a drum and bass remix of the Mario theme, and I'm just like, damn, no wonder I love this generation. It was pumped into my brain from when I was 5, you know.
Yeah, it's like, and I think that was like when you look at like, especially like JRPG soundtracks and stuff, like before, like I guess after the PlayStation 2, it stopped doing like drum and bass a lot as like the lead kind of part of the melody. Yeah, and it switched to like guitar or like violin, like strings, which is fine, and I quite like that for a lot of things. Yeah. But I don't know, like I prefer like when I listen to, I think I mentioned this before in one of the episodes of the podcast where Battle on the Big Bridge for Final Fantasy V.
That your favorite version
Gilgamesh shows up in
the SNES version.
Yeah, the SNES version. Because like Gilgamesh shows up in all these different games, and they always remix Battle on the Big Bridge, and it's always good. But all of them except for the Final Fantasy V version, and they all use guitar as the leading melody instead of the drum and the bass.
I love chiptune stuff as well, old school stuff. And I'll just clarify too, dog. Drum and bass itself is a genre, not just the instruments. They're like 180 BPM, like they're just like
I meant and specifically for me, I meant like the focus on drum and bass,
which is still true, in the genre. Yeah, so it still works. But yes, D&B or jungle or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So anyway, now we move on to the next round.
All right, excellent.
We start off with a little bit of a heater, but I got my answer. PlayStation 2 versus SNES.
I would probably... it's tough. I would probably still go with PS2.
Yeah, same.
SNES is phenomenal.
I said already, PlayStation 2 is my favorite console.
Those are two consoles that many people say are their favorites, one or the other.
Yeah.
And the SNES, I love it. I love it to death, and I don't want anybody to get their panties in a bunch over it and just be like, these dumb kids were born at the time not with the SNES. Shut up. I love the Super Nintendo and I love the PS2. The both are amazing, and for a long time, I called Chrono Trigger my favorite game, and I've called Mega Man X my favorite game. It's so stellar, but the PS2 is like the most diverse lineup of any console ever.
Yeah, it's so good. I was gonna bat for the PlayStation 2 no matter what. Yeah. God of War, Devil May Cry, God, it's so good.
I say we move the PS2 forward. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
That is a 1 seed versus
really bad for that one.
That is either 2 1 seeds or a 1 versus a 2, like straight up.
Yeah, that one's probably one of the harder ones on here until we get to the end. Actually, this one might be a little difficult. Xbox 360 versus PlayStation 3.
I'm so partial to the 360. I know you.
Yeah, I'm a PlayStation 3 guy because I think it's got the stronger exclusive library.
And I totally hear that. I totally hear you on that. But like. Bro, the Halo 3 soundtrack be making me cry. So, I can't even like. I haven't played a lot of those PS3 exclusives, and I'll give you this: I love me some Little Big Planet. Them 1 and 2, Little Big Planet 1 and 2 are so damn good. But I've like not really ever played Uncharted. I've played like a little bit of Killzone 3. I've never really played the first 2 Infamous games. I just there's a lot of the PS3 that I didn't get to explore because I was such a big 360 guy, and I only had a PS3 for like a brief time in my life and didn't play it too much. And the 360 was always better for the multiplats. And like I said, bro, Halo 3, bring me right back. So
it's I do think, and again, the PlayStation 3 I think just has a better like JRPG lineup too.
Way
because not only did it have like some like it had some like remasters and stuff, but it also had Trust Called Steel 1 and 2. It had probably one of the strongest runs for the Tales of series because you had like Tales of Xillia, Tales of Xillia 2, Tales of Systeria at the end there, but like Tales of Symphonia Chronicles. Yep, go ahead.
The 360 RPG wise basically only has Tales of Vesperia, but the 360 also
which is
has
very good.
Yeah. I know a lot of people really like that game. The 360 also has a lot of great imports, and I actually own. You got to remember, Sega was very helpful towards Xbox, for a long time, and Virtual On 4, which look it up. All right, not necessarily you, just anyone in the audience, because I know nobody knows what this game is. But it's basically just a big ass like Japanese mech fighting game, and I mentioned it as a Sega Saturn game because it was. And then the 4th one is a Japanese 360 exclusive. It works on an American 360. I own it. It's fucking fun. All right. So, and there's a lot of good 360 Japanese exclusives too that people wouldn't necessarily think of because it's an American console, but
yeah. And I will roll back one of the things you said because Xbox 360 did have some great JRPGs besides Tales of Vesperia. It had like Lost Odyssey.
Oh, Lost Odyssey. I own that game.
Like
Blue
that Dragon.
Game. Yeah, and Blue Dragon. I own that game too. Lost Odyssey, dude, is the reason to like put the 360 above the PS3, I think, because it's like, all right, we have all these awesome 360 games, and I know that Sony typically has the better JRPGs, but fuck you. We have Lost Odyssey. You have Final Fantasy 13. Like, suck my dick.
Well, we got Trails of Cold Steel 2 and 3, or 1 and 2. Sorry, we had Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, and Tales of Zillia 1 and 2.
Have you heard that Lost Odyssey battle theme though, dog? When them timpanis get going and stuff, that thing is crazy, man. That battle theme is so good. I listen to that shit all day.
I will concede to the Xbox on this.
Yes!
One, although I personally prefer the PlayStation 3. I will mention though, I do think the PlayStation 3 as like a multi thing of not just playing video games, like because there's also like a DVD, like a Blu-ray player, pretty much.
The OG like everybody PS3, the fat PS3 that played all 3 consoles natively, had the Blu-ray player, had all the SD card readers, had fucking everything under the sun, but it was $1 million and nobody bought it.
Yeah, it's like I think that was really cool, and I think like when you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, like at the time because Blu-ray was still kind of new,
Yep.
And I also think like, and that led to PlayStation 3 like discs being so much better because they were Blu-ray discs.
Well,
and like
they
could take
scratch.
a little bit more abuse.
They don't scratch.
Yeah, they could take a lot more abuse, and like I think that like as a collector, it's so much easier to collect for like PlayStation 3 because I could just buy something and be like I bought Lollipop Chainsaw PlayStation 3 version because I heard the remix like cut out some of the music, and that's like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So I was like I want to give it a try, so I bought it and I got the thing, and like the case ruined. Pretty much,
but like the disc is perfect though.
The disc is perfect. I was like, oh hell yeah! So like, it's. I do think that is like a point in the PlayStation 3's thing of like Blu-ray, and then also like when you talk to me for a long time, and they were like, "Do you have a Blu-ray player?" And they'd be like, "I have a PlayStation 3." Like
it's how I learned what Blu-rays even were. Yeah.
So I will concede the victory to the Xbox because I do think it has the better of the multi-platform releases. But I do think that I personally prefer the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, but the Xbox 360 has Lost Odyssey on it, so suck my dick. Anyway, next.
Next, I think is an easy one. Game Boy Color versus PlayStation 5.
Game Boy.
Yes.
I've never played a PS5.
PlayStation 5, very dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like a lot of the games on the PlayStation 5. Don't get me wrong. I love God of War Ragnarok. I love a lot of the Trails games that are on PlayStation 5, but they're also on PlayStation 4 and PC. So like,
yeah. All right, next.
Yeah, so Game Boy Color.
Yes.
We're just gonna rush through that one.
Yeah, totally. Now we've talked about
Astrobot is very good.
Now we've talked about every console, so now it's just kind of
we can just kind of rush through
talking about the matchups.
Next one's a little bit tougher. It's a Nintendo 3DS versus PlayStation 4. I'd give it to PlayStation 4, but
me too.
I think 3DS is a strong contention.
It's a really tough pick. I was kind of gonna just ride with whatever you said and agree with it. I was leaning PS4 anyway, just because I don't like handhelds. But yeah.
Yeah, I think like handhelds are like I'd rather play a console than play a handheld.
And the PS4 by the way, is damn good.
Yeah, and we did mention it before. We're not including PC on this because it's just got fucking everything.
PC Master Race just emulate all the games.
Also, it doesn't have physical media anymore. So.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't gonna bat for it anyway. But yeah, PlayStation 4 moves on. Next round, DS versus the Genesis.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go.
I'm nostalgic for both of these.
Me too, right? I'm gonna have to go DS. Yeah. I know I just talked shit about handhelds, but as a whole library and stuff, I mean, the Genesis again has like one RPG on it, So I'm gonna have to go with the DS, and I feel like you're in agreement, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm really nostalgic because it's my first console, so I'm super nostalgic.
And the Genesis is cool, man. I know I always I like the SNES, but the Genesis is still a solid system for sure.
Yeah, it does what Nintendo.
It do.
Nintendo DS. Yeah, we're gonna move the Nintendo DS on. It's just got too many heavy hitters on the DS.
Way too many.
Okay, this one's an easy one. PlayStation Vita versus the Wii.
Oh, yeah, see, this is like, again, that Vita is like the 10 seed that got far.
Yeah.
The Wii. The Wii's
a slap. This is a
powerhouse.
Smackdown.
Yeah.
The Wii's a hard one to beat.
Yeah.
That one's really good. That one's like that's one of the best consoles.
If we were doing only handhelds, I would maybe put the Vita all the way through, but
Oh, that's interesting. I would probably put DS or 3DS. Probably 3DS because it's backwards compatible with the DS.
I might honestly vouch for the Vita over like the DS or the 3DS. Like no cap, dude. I loved my Vita. Okay, look, Brian. When I was in high school, I was edgy.
Why'd you say with such animosity?
When I was in high school, I liked the Vita and I liked the Sega Saturn. I was weird and I just embraced it. And I think that all stems from me being a kid that had the GameCube instead of the PS2. So, you know.
Yeah, well, is what it is. All right. This one might be a tough one for you. For me, it's not. Nintendo Switch versus NES.
Mega Man sucks.
Well, all the good NES games.
Mr. Entertainment System. Mr. N Entertainment System. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Entertainment System. All the good NES games are on the Switch. So...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So put the Switch through.
So I think with that is like a tough sell because it's like, you know, like if it wasn't for the NES, they wouldn't be on the Switch, you know? Like, so I do think like the fact that on the Switch, it's not like a 1-to-1 comparison. It's like weighted differently. Oh shit, I just hit my mic. It's like weighted differently for me. But I just think the Switch has a better library, honestly. Like it's probably just because I tend to prefer modern games over like this era of retro games. Even though I do like them, don't get me wrong.
But I love NES games. I just
for me NES personally,
games. But put the Switch through.
Yeah, like if the SNES went up against the NES, I'd say I like the SNES more. You know, like I just think it's.
See, I would say the NES. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna put the Switch through. Nintendo Switch.
The Switch is just so good. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay. Next one is a really tough one for me: GameCube versus the original PlayStation.
For me, it's more easily the GameCube, but I do the OG PlayStation is ridiculously good, and I think that the general population would put it above the GameCube. But for me, it's the GameCube.
I'm more nostalgic for the GameCube, but I honestly think I like more of the games on the PlayStation more. Like, cause like Metal Gear Solid, the first three, right? Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like the first three.
Yeah. First three Pro Skaters, maybe.
Yeah, definitely the first two.
I would say though, like I would rather play Mario Sunshine than like Crash Bandicoot, and I love Crash too.
No, like
and you know,
actually, I might actually prefer to play Spyro 2 than Mario Sunshine. Honestly, it might be a hot take. I really like Spyro 2.
That is a fucking hot take, but yeah, at least in this house. But...
I prefer like the collectathon style of Spyro over the collectathon style of Mario Sunshine. Because like Mario Sunshine still got like that. Like, you have to like go into the level to get the specific shine sprite. You know. You can't just like just like go into the level and it's like collect everything, you know. I prefer that. Like,
so you would be more of a Banjo-Kazooie guy than a Mario 64 guy.
Yeah.
Based on that claim, at least. Yeah.
I haven't played Banjo-Kazooie. It's like I told this to Devin before and I worded it wrong. And I legit thought he was gonna kill me. But I mentioned how like I like Mario games and I think they're like in terms of like the quality of the games, they're really good. But besides like Galaxy and Sunshine, the world of Mario doesn't really interest me. Like the premise of Mario. So,
well, I get it, and I kind of talked about that with how I was like, all right, guys, like the story of Mario Sunshine kind of blows. Yeah. Moving
not
on,
really just like the story, but like the actual like being like the levels, like they're well made, but like the actual like style and it's very I don't know I don't know how to describe it. It's just like it's very generic. And it might just be because it's Mario, you know, like it's that game.
Yeah.
But like I would take
we've just seen it so much.
I would take like the world and stuff of like Jack and Daxter over Mario because it's just so interesting to me. Or I mean, this is
and that's where I would then say, hey man, Mario Sunshine is like it's like different. It's like we're on like the fucking beach, you know. It's a way different kind of game.
Yeah, but that's why I said like besides.
But
Sunshine
I get it with like
Galaxy.
Mario 64.
Yeah, but like.
Yeah,
and like I mean, it might be biased just because it's my favorite 3D platformers, but like I'd take any Sly game over pretty much any Mario game, honestly. But that's just a bias because I grew up with Sly more than I actually grew up with Mario.
See, I'm totally not that way.
But anyway, I do think I'm gonna have to give it to the GameCube because I think I'm just more nostalgic for it. But I will say this is one of the hardest ones. This is one of the hardest ones for me.
And we're gonna end up GameCube versus PS2 in the final, probably. But
so yeah, we're gonna move the GameCube forward. I will say for all the PlayStation fans out there, I'm with you. I also really like the PlayStation, but I can't get rid of the GameCube.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, but this was my childhood console, along with the PlayStation 2.
I already let you take away the Saturn and the Vita from me, so you can't take the GameCube off this list.
I did not take the... You pushed the Vita over the Game Boy Advance, which I wanted, and then we both said the Wii won. Don't try to rewrite history of the last 5 minutes in front of my face.
Whatever. You took them away because you're typing the list. I know we agreed on this, but they were taken from me.
I said Vita versus Wii. You're like, oh, the Wii.
Yeah, but still, the Vita's a cherished console of mine.
All right, we're in the fucking...
I know it's too weird to win. It's too weird to go to the Elite Eight, but you know.
We're in the Elite Eight now. PlayStation 2 versus Xbox 360. I think this is an easy one.
Ooh, that is not as easy for me, but I know that, like, you know, I know a lot of, again, those are two consoles that a lot of people out there say are their favorites of all time.
No, and for good reason.
And TBH, if I were to, you know, I'll just tell you this, I own a 360, I don't own a PS2, but but I understand, like, the answer is the PS2, but I just have my preferenes, you know, but anyway, you move the PS2 forward.
Because that's...
Sorry to the 360.
PlayStation 2... it's the PlayStation 2.
The PS2 is just a monolith. Like, when you look at it, you know, it's just such a powerhouse. I mean, it's like the team that goes like 31-2, and then, you know, gets like the 1 seed, like, no question. You know.
So this next one, I would say it's kind of easy for me. Game Boy Color versus the PlayStation 4. I would say the PlayStation 4.
PS4.
Yeah, okay, good. We're both on the same page on
PS4
that one.
Easy. Because I didn't even really want the Game Boy on there at all. I wanted the Sega Saturn. So,
well, you conceded the Game Boy.
I did, but I'm like, okay, like, sure, like, the Game Boy won by 1 point.
Yeah.
Like, the Game Boy won in overtime, you know?
Yeah, I'm surprised it actually made it
so
that far.
It's gonna lose the next one. The Game Boy is like a 7 or 8 seed probably that had a run. You know?
Okay, this next one's also an easy one for me. Wii versus Nintendo DS. I, again, really nostalgic for the DS, but I just think the Wii's better.
Ooh, Wii versus DS is really hard, actually, because they were, you know, kind of going at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it's like how, like, a Nintendo had, like, their kind of consoles paired with their handhelds. You know, like, the GameCube was the Game Boy Advance. Yes. The DS was the Wii.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, yeah, it's... but
I would have to give it to the Wii as well, because I'll tell you, bro, I mean, 2 words. Wii Sports.
Yeah. And I got 4 words. I had to count them. You are Mr. Gay, which is Super Mario Odyssey. Super
Mario Galaxy. Yeah. Trust me, I know all about You Are Mr. Gay.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we're moving the Wii.
I'd have to go with the Wii. I mean, you know, the DS is really awesome, but like I said, man, I played the Wii this morning.
Yeah.
So,
well, I just realized we have Sony and Nintendo, no matter what, in the Final Four.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, next one is a little bit of a hard one. It's Switch versus GameCube.
Oh, Brian, crap. How do we end up here?
Because the GameCube was easily clearing until it got to the PlayStation, and the Switch was easily clearing, no matter what.
Yeah. It's literally, you know, this is a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
Because this would be the Elite Eight, so this is a 1 seed and a 2 seed for sure. The Switch being a 1 and GameCube being a 2. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. There are some GameCube games on the Switch.
Yeah.
There's not many. It's not on NSO, but like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door got a remake. Technically, Mario Sunshine got a remake. You know, like those things are on the Switch. And then you have all the awesome Switch library.
Yeah.
Which I'm not that familiar with, to be honest. I mostly use my Switch to play old games.
Octopath Traveler, Bravely Default 2, Live Alive remake.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And there's just a lot of awesome stuff. Like, fucking Snow Bros got a remake on the Switch. You know, like, come on. Like, that's so cool. The GameCube is my favorite console of all time. But, again, like I said, it's similar to how I've, in my life, had phases of loving things like the Intellivision, the Vita, and the Saturn. You know, the GameCube was my first, like, I'm the weird kid at school because I don't have a PS2, but I have this thing that sold like 1/20th the amount of the PS2, you know?
Yeah.
So the Switch just is one of those monolith consoles in terms of sales and popularity and versatility. So I think that we have to move it forward.
Yeah, that's fair. Because like the GameCube was like the most nostalgic console for me. Because even though I did own a PS2 at the same time, it broke. So the GameCube is what I played most of the shit on, and that one is like that's the console for me. But yeah, I think like if I were to like if you put a Switch or a GameCube in front of me to play, I'd probably pick up the Switch. Like it's just because of it's just got a lot more games on it, honestly, that I really like.
Yeah. All this makes me miss being in high school with my original collection and no thoughts in life other than what's the next game I'm buying. All this makes me think of. I'm like, damn, I wish I could play some Tempo on the 32X right now. I'm still back there, Brian.
Yeah. That's fair. But yeah, so I guess we're both good with moving the Switch on.
Yeah, switching the Final Four.
Right. Yeah, so now we have the Final Four. Legitimately, we have two PlayStation consoles versus two Nintendo consoles.
Shit. I mean, dude, it's me and you. What'd you expect?
So first one up, we got the PlayStation 2 versus PlayStation 4. I think this one's pretty easy for me.
That one is actually kind of easy. That's like when you have, you know, just the monolith one seed that's just going through the bracket, and then, you know, maybe a 3 or a 4 seed makes it to the Final Four. Me and you both have some preference for the PS4, and, you know, so does my girlfriend, so count that. But the PS4 is, like, in the grand scheme of things, like a 3 or a 4 seed. If we were, like, you know, ranking them like seeding them, you know, like the actual March Madness tournament. So this is where, like, the 4 seed has a good run, but then just meets an unstoppable force, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just got to be the PlayStation 2
in the finals.
PlayStation 2. All right, and then this one I think is actually going to be the hardest one, besides the final, which is the Wii versus the Switch.
Whew. My childhood versus my college years.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because the thing with the Switch for me is like, even though I really like the Switch, like between it, like if I had to pick between like playing a game on the Switch or playing on like the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4, I'd pick the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4, even though I think the Switch is a better console. Just because, one, like it performs better, and two, trophy support, which is actually big for me because I'm like a trophy hunter.
I like trophy support too. I'll give you that. I do like going for trophies. You, my friend, are a nut, and you like getting the platinums.
Yeah. I think I'm at 47 now.
Mega Man sucks.
But yeah, sorry, I was just talking to my girlfriend real quick. But
Mega Man sucks.
Yeah, so we're Switch versus Wii.
Yeah,
I might have to stay partial to the Wii.
The same, dude. I love the Switch, but I think I gotta give it to the Wii. It's just that one where, like, again, it's the one that like brought the whole family around to play video games. You know, like.
Absolutely. It's one of the only times that I ever saw my grandparents play games. Same. You know?
Like, I remember my grandmother getting real into the bowling. Like,
of course.
Yeah, like it's
everyone.
Yeah, it's like it got the whole family involved. And it's just not only that, it's got some heaters on there, man.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
All right, but then the final, I gotta say, I mean, it's gotta be the PS2.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Console I don't own, but I you know, I'm experienced with it and I know all about it, but I think that it's just a little obvious for me and you to pick the PS2 to be the king.
Yeah.
You know, it's our generation, and it's just, I mean, it's got, like, you know, like I said, it's got 1,800 games on it. Like, there's like no way.
And it's just, like, again, like, it's so. I remember, like, whenever I would go over a friend's house, you know, like, and we'd play, like, sometimes we play GameCube games, but a lot of times we play a PlayStation 2 game because it was just so much fun. Like, Burnout 3, again, like, great game.
Burnout 3, dog. There you go.
Tony
That's
Hawk's
the whole
Pro
reason
Skater
why
4.
it wins. And Underground.
Was that on the PlayStation 2?
Underground 2.
Oh, yeah. Tony Hawk's, I was more of a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 kid.
We were Underground kids because we were edgy.
I bet you like Shadow the Hedgehog more than any of the other Sonic games. He's got guns.
More than Sonic Adventure. Yeah. Funny.
But yeah, I think we got to give it to the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, there's no way. So anyways,
PlayStation 2
that was a long one.
Yeah, is our grand winner. Best console. And if you disagree, that means you're not a real gamer.
You're wrong. That means you're wrong. Yeah. It's straight up wrong. No other opinions. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Deserted Gamer Podcast. We will, I don't know if we're going to do any segments for this one because it'd be a little weird. Maybe just, I don't know. But anyway, I'll send you over my file, Brian, and you can get cranking on this one. There's a few moments where it's going to desync because of, stuff. But anyway, we will see you all next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace.
Bye.
Mega Man sucks.